Good morning, Bethlehem. It's good to be with you this morning. It's a joy to be here amidst the birds and the flowers and share a bit of time with you. Now, I love Bethlehem, and I could speak the whole time just about the blessings that I have known from being at Bethlehem. But what I'd like to share with you this morning is a little different. I'd like to share with you my experience of God at work in a life that has not always been easy. Because you see, I believe that by speaking about some of these challenges, we can encourage others to be faithful as well. I grew up in a family of pastors. My dad is a pastor, my brother is a pastor, my grandfather was a pastor, my uncle was a pastor, and my uncle and my dad were also missionaries. We went to West Africa when I was in junior high. And many people have said, oh, that must have been really cool. Well, maybe it could have been. But the first year that I was there, in the dormitory, I was raped by my confirmation pastor. And the second year that I was there, I was in the midst of the first large-scale modern African massacre. These two events have left me marked for life. It was not until my children were in grade school that I really began to deal with that. First, by going into a deep suicidal depression. And then slowly, with a lot of hard work, coming back from that. My doctor told me that unless I found an abuse therapist, that he would put me in the hospital. Well, I found an abuse therapist, but that was before the days when medical insurance covered therapy, and we couldn't afford it. And I went walking around the block thinking, well, then what? And while I was walking around the block, all I can say is the Spirit of God gave me the answer. And I got back to the house, and I had no more than been in the house for 15 minutes. And my father called me with the same answer. And so I began therapy with Karen. And I was with her for a number of years. And while I was with her, I did a lot of poetry writing and a lot of hymn writing. None of it terribly good, but useful for me. Until one day, Karen said to me, have you ever considered being a pastor? And I said, who, me? A pastor? I'm not good enough to be a pastor. I'm not good enough. I felt worthless as I struggled from day to day and stumbled and bumbled. But over time, I thought about that more and more. And finally, I went and talked to an assistant to the bishop, and she said to me, we need people like you. And to have people like you in ministry means that you will need to plan on being in therapy for the rest of your life. Well, I think she was right on both counts. I have been in one sort of therapy or another for the rest of my life. And I really do believe that God has placed me in His kingdom work to do work that I am uniquely qualified to be able to do. And even in my retirement, well, I don't think that pastors ever fully retire. I still have the privilege of preaching a lot. But I see God's grace moving through so many pieces of my life. And I just really needed to share that with you today. Because you see, I think that no matter what our stories are, God can take those stories and use them for His kingdom work. So God bless you this day and always.